non-directive, and eclectic counseling. And we started differentiating the three with directive counseling and its characteristics. So very quickly lang, the proponent of this type is E.G. Williamson, and he said that this is a prescriptive counseling. This is prescriptive counseling because the counselor plays a major role here. It is focused on the skills, knowledge, expertise of the counselor. He is the one directing the client what to do to find solutions to his issues or concerns. And he does this because from this perspective, it is assumed that the client is incapable of working on his problems alone. He needs somebody to tell him what to do, to direct him to the right direction, parang ganon. Okay, that's why it's called prescriptive. Are you okay? Yes. Now, the counselor, when we say that he takes a very dominant, major, direct role in counseling, okay, he does this by um, giving a lot of information, by coming up with explanations, and then making interpretations, and also the advice giving, no, telling the client what to do. And so the focus is more on the intellectual rather than on the emotional aspect of the client. Okay, so uh, the steps involved in directive counseling starts with analysis, followed by synthesis, and then coming up with a diagnosis as well as with the prognosis. And then you start the counseling session, and then you do the follow up. Okay, and what is good about conducting a directive counseling? We said last time that this is less time consuming, and it is also very convenient. No, when you need to come up with a solution very quickly. No, and it is best to use when the client is immature, mentally challenged, or uh, is really is incapable of making decisions alone. Okay, the counselor also is this is also another advantage. The counselor is available to help any time. Now, what's the downside of using this type of counseling? It can lead to undue dependence, no, of on the counselor. The client may rely so much for guidance, no, on the counselor, so that when he is left alone, he feels lost. He feels the anchor is gone, and so he does not know anymore how to conduct himself. Okay, and that can lead, because of undue dependence, that can lead to difficulties on the part of the client to adjust to things on his own. He will have a difficult time managing, no, and then he may not develop the right attitude that is needed to help him succeed in overcoming the obstacles that he has to face as he continues on in life. So, an alternative type of counseling is the one that was uh, developed by Carl Rogers. And this is the non-directive counseling. And this time, it is very much client-centered, person-centered. The therapy for this is the person-centered therapy. Okay, this is permissive counseling. Okay, in that the client is as I said last time, is the client takes the major role of deciding how the session is going to proceed. He is said to be the driver, whereas the counselor is said to be simply the passenger. Okay? The counselor creates an atmosphere in which the client works out his problem, meaning to say, although the counselor takes the passive role here, the client is the active one here. It is still uh, in the hands of the counselor. It is still part of his responsibility to ensure that when they get together, when they have that session, okay, uh, the session is characterized by this sense of being in the right place. The client will have to feel that he came to the right place, that this is a safe place for him, that it is okay to be himself, to remove his mask, and then just simply be himself with all his vulnerabilities. Now, you are actually putting yourself out there for you, unprotected ka. You are just putting nandyan na. And that is something not easy to achieve. But that is what the client-centered therapy aims to do. To communicate, to convey to the client that, okay, it's okay to be yourself. It's okay to show your weaknesses as well as your strength. It's not going to be taken against you. It's okay to be completely honest about your lapses, about how much you have uh, contributed to making the situation the way it is, blah blah blah. And when you go into that, you are now focused more on how the person feels. It's more on the focus is on the emotions rather than on the ability to be rational, to be logical. Okay. So, how do you go about conducting this non-directive counseling? So first, you have to identify and define the concerns and the issues of the client, and then you allow the client to come up with the feelings, no? Or how do you feel about all these things? What feelings came up? How was it like for you to be in that situation? Blah, and then you work into developing insight in the client, and then you classify the feelings as negative or positive, and then you end up with terminating the session. And this is what you call, no, talk therapy. You simply talk. You simply talk as parang this is something like ano, this is an offshoot actually. This is now the client centered therapy is was greatly, no, when this was developed, no, constructed by Carl Rogers, he was greatly influenced by the psychoanalytic approach. He was really he was in agreement, no, with Freud when when Freud came up with this technique, no, called free association. So the individual, based on the psychoanalytic approach, if you recall, the individual is simply made to lie down on the couch and just to free associate, meaning to say to just rumble on and on without fear of any judgment or condemnation. And he was given the floor, the freedom to just say whatever is in his mind. And the therapist Freud in this case, no, when it was first introduced, was behind him. He was not even in front of him. There was even no eye contact. He was just there at his side, but just above his head, ano, parang, and then he will just come in to just come in to say, to encourage essentially for the client to continue. Yes, you mean that, just to facilitate the flow the flow of the sharing, no, made by the client. Okay, so yun, because when you allow the person to just simply talk, parang that is already very cathartic for the person, no? And what do you mean by cathartic? Catharsis, we mean purging of the soul. You are trying to put out, to find a release, to ventilate, to express, to remove, to unburden, to release. Ano pa? You know what I'm saying. So that in the end, at the end, no, you feel you feel you feel like you have the feeling is one of being relief. You feel lighter, you feel being able to breathe, you feel like a big burden has been taken off your shoulder. Questions, please. Are you okay? Am I making sense?
Yes,
All
ma'am.
right, so klaro naman, ano? Sige, so what are the advantages and disadvantages of the non-directive therapy or counseling? For one, it helps to develop in the client a strong sense of independence and self-reliance, leading later to self-direction. Because now you're empowering, you're giving, you're telling the client, okay, this is your moment, this is your show. You decide how you want things to be. And so because I believe in you, I trust in you, I know you can do this. And so the client gets this feel of, yeah, it's up to me, it's in my hands. So uh, I call the shots here. I'm not, nobody's telling me what to say, how to say it, and then tell me what I should do. But I am now being listened to. I am now being understood, and that is very empowering. And now I can see, because of the exchanges that was made along the way, I can see clearly where I would like to be, what direction I'm going to take. So that's the advantage. But this doesn't come agad-agad, ha. That one, after one talk lang, you already get that kind of feeling. Hindi. But that can also, if what you need is simply somebody to listen to you, and then you're good now, then that's it. No. Another one is it helps the client to attain emotional integrity and to reach his full potential. And what do you exactly mean by emotional integrity? What comes into your mind? Anyone? Emotional integrity. Tuting, go.
For me, ma'am, emotional integrity means someone has a strong emotion who can who cannot be yung parang hindi siya agad-agad naapektuhan ng mga small disadvantages. Yun po.
Mm-mm. So meaning to say, you are not easily affected. So that means you become emotionally stable. Diba? There is a cohesion. There is consistency uh, in the way you feel. Hindi fluctuating. Like one moment you feel angry, the next moment you are fine, and then the next moment wala. No, there's the mood, your emotions do not go up and down, more or less. After you have gone through this kind of counseling, you are in a better, you can manage your emotion better. You can deal with your emotions in a positive way. Your emotions are relatively stable. Okay, and because you are in control of your emotions, you now are capable, you now have the capacity to to develop your potentials to the fullest. You can really be who you want to be, or you can achieve your dreams, your goals in life, because you now can regulate yourself, especially the way you feel, the way you react, the way you respond to things around you. Yun ang ano. And that is, I think, very, very important. 'Di ba? Uh, 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 our inability to manage our situations, uh, to a great extent, uh, is due to our emotions. When we allow our emotions to control us, then that's it. Now you become emotional. It's your emotional brain that is working, and so your thinking brain has shut down. And when you are emotional, then that's pure emotions lang. There is very little chance for you, when you are full of emotions, to be logical in your way of assessing the situation. You cannot be, you tend to be irrational. All you want is to strike back lang, no? All you want is to get even, tit for tat. What you give is also what you get, parang ganon. So it's always like that. And that, who's going to come up better here, who's going to win the this round, parang sa boxing ko sa steo. But when you develop in time, no, this emotional stability that we would like to have. And actually, when you go and apply, one of the things that they would like to check out muna, no, among the applicants is, are you emotionally mature, are you emotionally stable. If you are, then that means you will, no matter what will happen, when you are already part of the organization, because things really can go crazy, no, that the pressure will be high, and then you will be clashing with different personalities, and the manager uh, has so many things to do, and he does not want to spend most of his time trying to referee the situation that is erupted between the among the employees, di ba? So yun, that's very important. Attitude counts. So it's your attitude about things that can make a lot of difference. Okay, so yun, that's the thing. Questions, guys? Okay
None
lang?
so far, ma'am.
Mm. And then when it follows, no, when you have this, you develop this sense of independence. You now recognize that actually you can do things on your own with a little guidance, which you're getting, no, when you do the counseling. Now there's nobody to rely on. There's nobody who can help you except yourself. And so you say, I am the most powerful person in this world because I get to direct how I want my life to be. And so you when you have that sense of being in charge of your life, when you have that sense of being in control, and being able to get along, no, with people around you, and being able to make the necessary adjustment in life, then that is really very rewarding. No, the feeling is wow talaga, and you say, march on, bring it on, whatever challenges that are meant for me, bring it on. I'm not going to let these challenges get the better of me. I'm going to lick it, I'm going to hack it, and I'm going to have the best time of my life, however it will be, with whatever I have, blah blah blah. And you know, the effects of counseling using this type can be lasting. Okay, take note that the effects of counseling does not show its themselves, no, itself agad-agad. You just say, okay, so I talk and I had this, blah, blah, blah. But you don't go and say, oh no, I am a completely I am a completely different person, because now I now look at things differently. The changes may be very subtle. The changes may not even be um the changes may not be evident right away. That is para you know about latent learning in developmental psychology, no, you learn something, but the learning does not is not clear at the moment, but the what you pick up, the learnings that you get from the experience, from the talk, from whatever, will come out sometime later. So you say, ay, tingnan mo, there's this comment that was said last time. uh, After talking, they want to see a radical change in the client, and that is an unrealistic expectation. You don't yeah, blah. Na after talking to the counselor, bakit ganyan nangyari? 'Di ba dapat ano na, kasi na-counseling na. Dapat this should not have happened after talking. So that means to say that counseling was not effective. That counseling was not that's the law lang may ganikal ayuda, parang like that. Now again, if that is that is an inaccurate statement of what counseling can do for the individual. You cannot expect and to see uh, an immediate change that we are working on in the individual, but that can come later. That can manifest. That can be manifested um, even a year after or two. Okay? Hindi agad-agad. But there are also those who say, how do you feel about this? How do you what do you think it was it the right decision for you to come and talk and say, oh, they can immediately say, yeah, I feel better, I feel relief, I can breathe na, parang ganon. So these are now the changes, immediate change about the impact, no, but a lasting change, not that can come much later. Questions?
None
Questions?
so far, ma'am.
Okay lang? O na, sige. Alright, and so, what then are the disadvantages? Ito lang, unlike the directive counseling, because it is now up to the counselor to immediately come up with options and decide what would be the best option to take, A, B, C. Nasa kanya yan. So, you can address the situation quickly. But when you make use of that of this type of counseling, it is indeed quite time consuming. It may take you 1 to 8 session to bring about to make a lasting impact on the individual, and that can be a challenge, especially if the person is a busy individual. He will have a difficult time managing his schedule because the counselor is only available during the day, does not do any counseling after work, and then the person is occupies a managerial position or is actually the CEO, and you wouldn't have the time to sit down even for 45 minutes or 55, not to 1 hour, to talk. So, time consuming siya. And and naturally, because this would require getting in touch with your emotions, being able to verbalize, identify first your emotion, and then identify, and then you have to decide what would be the best way for me to handle this particular emotion in this situation. That would be difficult for somebody who is immature, very young, who is mentally challenged, and who does not have the language, no, the vocabulary to really get in touch, no, with his or her emotions. So later on, we will do this exercise, and you will discover that your vocabulary of feelings is quite limited. So that's as beginning counselors, you have to expand, widen. Uh, you have to include uh, a lot of feeling words, no, into your vocabulary, so that you'll be able to uh, yeah, identify and express them clearly. Like in Chavacano, you say anger is rabiao, pero wala na, rabiao to o rabiao yo, hasta ali lang, but exactly the, you say pwede to ka man quantify el intensity, bien rabiao yo, hindi man gadyo rabiao, or poquito rabiao, that's it. Pero it's not really very it's somewhat limited. Ayun. So so when it comes to expressing your feelings, you have to be able to use the appropriate word, use the most accurate word, adjective to describe how you feel. Otherwise, those around you will not be able to really get exactly how or what you are feeling at the moment. Okay, this is also a disadvantage, because the counsel is quite passive, no, he does not say much. He will only interject from time to time with uh-huh, yes, you mean to say that, blah, or say something, and then stop na naman. The Because you don't talk so much, the client may take it to mean that you are not that interested, because the interaction is more or less one-sided. He gets to talk a lot, parang ganon. So it may bring this sense of not not being open, no, to talking about your feelings that readily. And yeah, this kind of counseling is not a very good type of counseling to use when you are in a school setting, as it may involve many pupils. Kasi nga, time consuming. If the school is made up of 5,000 students, how will you be able to attend to all of them one at a time? So those who the at most what will happen is you only attend to those who come to you voluntarily, or those who are referred to you. But for you to ask them to come and see you, you come up with a schedule uh, to really come and really come and sit down and have a session. Medyo challenging yan, but it can be done. It can be done, provided that the school has the right number of counselors to attend to all the students. Now, I am not so sure about this anymore. My memory is really getting crazy, not bad for me. But the ratio of the counselor and counselee should be 1 to 500. That meaning, in school, that is, no, for every 500 students, there should be one counselor assigned. Na, pero like here in Winsu, we do not follow that. We are not following that ratio. That's the ideal. That is the mandated what's this policy, no, when it comes to ratio. But in other schools, they do manage. So like we have one, we have a graduate of BS psychology who is now uh, with De La Salle University in Manila, and he is working in the guidance office, a regular uh, a regular member of the guidance and counseling team of the school. And in the prior to pre-COVID, when students go and attend the PUBG, which is uh, normally done January, no, next year. I don't know, siguro they will start last time online lang nangyari. But the Psych Society and they are going to inform you if they will receive an invitation that the PUBG is going to be held here or there. And so there are students who go to Manila to attend the convention, no, for the junior affiliates sponsored by the Philippine Psychological uh, the Psychological Association of the Philippines, the PAP. Okay, we always find set a schedule to visit the different guidance offices in Ateneo, at NU, and also in LaSalle, okay, because we have contacts there. And so they give us a parang an orientation of how counseling works for them, blah blah blah. And each one of them is assigned to a specific course kasi limited lang naman ang mga students there. So you cannot be cleared at the end of the semester if records show that you have not visited the guidance office when you are supposed to. So may testing yan sila, and then they have to have the intake interview, and then they have the regular session. You have to go see the guidance counselor for around mga 4 or 5 times during the semester. Parang ganon. But we don't have that here in our school. Okay? So, there you go. So, if we are going to compare really, no, between the two, directive and non-directive, directive is economical while non is time consuming. Directive emphasizes on the problem, while non-directive, the emphasis is on the individual. Directive, the emphasis is on the intellectual aspect of the person, while on the other hand, the focus is on the emotional aspect. Here, the methodology is direct and very persuasive, while this one here is indirect. This one solves the immediate problem, while the other one is more into self-analysis. In directive counseling, the counselor makes use of psychological assessment data, but in non-directive counseling, the counselor may or may not use psychological assessment. So when you say uses psychological assessment data, then that means to say that the individual is given a number of psychological tests prior to counseling. Now, why is that? Because if you recall, when you do directive counseling, okay, after you have to do analysis, you have to do synthesis, and then you have to come up with your diagnosis. So for you to be able to come up with your diagnosis, then that means you will have to get some important information that you can obtain from the use of psychological tests. Kasi this is intellectual, and you don't have time to talk about what's causing him his problems, what the effects are on him. you don't have the time for that, so better pa para sa kanila, give him the test, and then you'll be able to know his mental state, whether he's emotionally unstable ba, or whether he is a perfectionist, or whether he has very low stress tolerance, or whether he is mistrustful of people, whether he is a team player or whatever. That you can get immediately after administering psychological test. Non-directive, long process, matagal yan. You're more into self-analysis. You are not so dependent on what the tests say about the individual, because you can also come up with your own assessment of what's happening or what's going on with the person, but in a direct way. Okay? In addition to that, direct, the role of the council is very active, while non-directive, the role is passive. Counseling can be done by supporting staff. No, that is when you do directing, but on the other hand, when you do non-directive, you really need a trained professional, because self-analysis is a part of the whole thing. Okay, the counselor makes decisions for clients, while here the client makes his own decisions. And as already shared, uh, directive counseling is more into information giving, and you don't need to really establish a strong relationship with your client. But here in non-directive, we want the client to develop insights, to enhance or improve his problem solving skills. And so it is important that you connect with him, that you establish rapport, that there is this relationship that is interpersonal, that is cooperative, that is how else did we say that, it is something that is a relationship that is one-on-one. That's from the definition that we had, that it is an interpersonal relationship, and that this is something that is cooperative. What's that word? I'm searching for that word that we used the last time. Cannot recall what that is. How else do we describe this relationship? Anyone? Can you remember? Another synonym. I just want to use a similar synonym for interpersonal. It is something that is anyway. Questions, guys? Okay lang?
Yes po, ma'am.
All right. I'm trying to recall. It's already at the tip of my tongue, but I cannot.
Is it professional, ma'am?
Well, yeah, well, professional, but a different one. Okay, never mind. I'll be able to get that back. Sige. So the third type is what you call the eclectic counseling. And this time, the chief exponent or proponent of this is F.C. Thorne. Now, the eclectic counseling is neither counselor-centered nor client-centered, but a combination of the two. Okay? And because it is a combination of the two, it follows a middle course. The counselor here is not too active, nor is he too passive. Okay? And how different is eclectic from the two? Now, the use of the eclectic counseling may change from client to client, or even with the same client from time to time. Okay? So there may be times when you are very direct, there may be times when you assume the non-directive way of doing things. Okay? Or there may be times na you will be shifting from one to the other kasi eclectic nga. So when the counselor needs to be more direct, so he makes use of some of the features quote unquote of the directive counseling. But when it is required or when it is needed, that the focus is more on the shift, no? It is more on emotional. First, you started with what thoughts do you have, and then how do you feel now? So it's a combination. So when you combine when you combine the two, then that's what you call eclectic, and it's highly flexible. The freedom of expression and choice is open to both. Okay? Faith and confidence in one another is very basic, and the framework is adjusted to suit the client. I many times I go for this one, eclectic. It's neither directive nor non-directive. Depends on the flow of interaction between the counselor and the client. Okay? Now, how do you go about doing it? First, establishing rapport. This is a characteristic of the non-directive. And then you move on to making a diagnosis of the problem that is direct. Diba? And then you move on to analyzing the case. Okay, that is still direct. And then you go and come up with a treatment plan. How are you going to manage this case with what to achieve whatever goal identified by the client, and then that's when you start doing your counseling and then end up with your follow up. Okay, advantages and disadvantages of eclectic counseling. This is a very practical approach, because for one, it is very flexible. Number two, it is objective, and number three, it is well coordinated. Now the bad thing about using the eclectic counseling is the roles of the counselor and the client are not predetermined, no? You just go with the flow, whatever is you say, the counselor is going to be passive today, or the counselor is going to be very active today, parang hindi. That's the parang you just you make the necessary adjustment when needed. This will require a skilled counselor to handle the dynamic features of the approach. Okay, so the supporting staff that who can do direct counseling is definitely not for this type of counseling. You really need somebody who is trained, who is experienced, who is knowledgeable, who is skilled to be able to make the shift, no, at a moment's notice. That's the eclectic counsel. All it takes is practice. All it takes is a lot of experience. All it takes is just the willingness to try things out muna. How will you be able to develop the skill to conduct eclectic counseling if you're not going to take the first step, and that is to try to see how well you can manage this type of counseling. So practice as always, is very very important. You have to try it, to try things out. You have to do some experimenting. Is this for me? Am I comfortable with this, ano ba? Or I'm more confident as a counselor, especially as a beginner counselor, if I do the direct counseling, or I just go for the non-directive counseling. Wag muna yung combination of the two. Okay? Moving on, let's now take a look at